Right now on the BBC, mayhem on a mountain trip for BBC2 with Laurel and Hardy next. A good old nosy around the homes of the famous as BBC1 goes through the keyhole. Or on the CBeebies channel, the Bobble House is full of music and the Bobbinogs Band are ready to play. Those are your choices right now across the BBC.
The Olympic Games starts Friday on BBC TV, radio and interactive. Legends will be rewritten.
A couple of classics from Laurel and Hardy now on BBC2. Ollie's in trouble with a jealous husband in 20 minutes. First, comedy gold in Them Thar Hills.
This year, the BBC brings you the world's first interactive Olympics.
Look at the style.
On TV, you can choose which event you want to watch with the Olympics interactive TV service BBCi. On BBC Radio 5 Live, listen to all the action throughout the day. Or watch it all live online at bbc.co.uk.
The world record holder at 60 metres indoors, the world record holder.
The Olympic Games starts Friday on the BBC. Legends will be rewritten.
The side of cricket you don't see. International Cricket Live on BBC Radio 4 198 long wave and 5 live spots extra.
A suave bounder meets a disaster-prone lecturer now on BBC2. From Kingsley Amos's novel, Ian Carmichael and Terry Thomas star in Lucky Jim.
In a week of special programmes to mark the 60th anniversary of D-Day, the BBC will be broadcasting from key locations in Britain and in France. We'll be looking back at that historic summer of 1944 and uncovering the many feats of heroism and courage that marked the turning point of the Second World War.
Join Hugh Edwards for D-Day 60, tomorrow from 10 on BBC One. Digital viewers can press red now for more information.
I have fought against white domination.
Did they really have it so good? Rethink the 60s.
It's all too beautiful.
Every week. To find out how you can get BBC4 on cable and satellite services and Freeview, call 08700 10 10 10.
Almost time for the Strawberries and Cream, and BBC2's getting into the tennis with highlights of last year's Wimbledon in 25 minutes. After classic comedy now, and Bilko's in the line of fire.
All the news that happens, everywhere, every day. How much can you remember? And how fast can you do it? 24 hours to learn 24 hours. The Cram. The test continues tonight at 7 on BBC2.
If you...
Last chance hero. Agassi.
What about love?
Hey, telling me you got a love story. Perfect. Pleisters and Hewitt. Okay.
But there's no way you've got a cliffhanger with whole nations on the brink, huh? Huh?
You never seen a Tim Henman semi-final.
Oh, okay, I see.
Wimbledon 2004 starts Monday at 12 on BBC Two.
All the news that happens, everywhere, every day. How much can you remember? And how fast can you do it? 24 hours to learn 24 hours. The Cram. The test continues tonight at 7 on BBC2.
Now on BBC Two, Bilko will do anything to get away from paying his bills.
Want to earn a six-figure salary? BBC Two needs dynamic, business-minded people for a new series where the winner gets to work for Sir Alan Sugar. If you think you've got what it takes to be the UK's top apprentice, go to bbc.co.uk/apprentice.
The Beautiful Game by the greatest artists in Europe. Euro 2004. Every game live on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Working lunch just 5 minutes away. After BBC Two now bears witness to the birth of a milestone in 20th century medicine.
In the 1950s, Carl Gerasi left America for Mexico to seek his future as a chemical scientist.
I think that was probably the period of the wildest optimism. One really thought there would be technological fixes for every problem, particularly health problems, but also social problems.
Gerasi looked to nature in his research on the contraceptive pill.
I started as a chemist on a chemical problem and looked at it as a chemist without saying pill if in fact we can invent such a pill. Well, we invented such a pill on October 15, 1951. What we synthesized did not exist in nature, but the biological activity mimicked that of the natural hormone. So there, what we celebrated only was the success of a chemical experiment without appreciating at all the overwhelmingly important social role that it would play eventually. It took 10 years for it to be approved as an oral contraceptive. No one expected, in my opinion at that time, how quickly women would accept oral contraception.
Low, while the flame is strong, 'cause we may not be the young ones.
Within those 10 years, the 1960s became both the heydays of the sexual revolution, credited or blamed in part on the pill, as well as the opposition at that time by feminists about the pill, a male invention intruding on the woman's intimate psyche and body. Women should have been brought into the decision-making process much, much earlier. It was still a very patriarchal attitude. It was, in the United States, all the obstetrician gynecologists were men, and they had this paternal attitude, almost phallocentric attitude. Oh, don't worry, we can take care of everything. You just take this pill, or you take this and that, and we have everything under control, without really telling them what exactly they're doing.
Today, he is an author and playwright, and the subject of reproduction is still at the heart of his work.
We are on the verge of separating sex and reproduction, in that sex will continue to be done for love or lust in bed, so to speak, and fertilization more and more under the microscope.
Carl Gerasi believes that the theatre is the place for people to learn the truth about science. In his play, the central character is a woman scientist.
She, in my play, uses her own egg without telling anyone, in other words, washing it out of her body, and then fertilizes with a single sperm of a man with whom she would like to have a child. But the fertilization, of course, is then done without sexual intercourse, and in fact you could have an intact virgin being a mother. It's a closer thing to Immaculate Conception, except I call my play Immaculate Misconception.
The Immaculate Misconception is part of his plea today for social responsibility in science.
Individual scientists clearly must behave ethically, but not because they're scientists, but because they're human beings.
Imagine John Coltrane, the jazz genius who lived to play music.
Practiced like a man with no talent, and he had all the talent in the world.
Join me, Alan Yentob, for Imagine, tonight at 10:35 on BBC One.
The Beautiful Game by the greatest artists in Europe. Euro 2004. Presented by the Past Masters. Live and interactive on the BBC.
Look sharp now on BBC Two. Someone's got their eye on Bilko's chips.
Some called it vandalism. Others called it preservation. But for Lord Elgin, it was the start of a controversial journey.
What Elgin did was an outrage of vandalism.
This was an entirely unselfish act.
The controversy was just beginning.
Was he right?
Elgin performed one of the greatest acts of conservation.
Or was he wrong?
Don't take away a country's pride.
You decide. The Elgin Marbles, coming soon on BBC Two.
Friday's bumper edition of Working Lunch in 5 minutes. First on BBC Two, personal memories of a moment in history.
My life had been affected by this war. I was away from home for a couple of years, and I came back limping.
When Charlie Rodebar came back from the army, he got a job as a news reporter on the San Francisco Chronicle, fulfilling a lifetime's ambition to be a journalist.
We had the war in the Pacific, and this was something that the rest of the United States didn't know about. Where New York was happy celebrating the end of Hitler, we had the whole Pacific War to continue with.
At the same time as war raged in the Pacific, an extraordinary meeting was beginning in San Francisco.
He smiled at me in my dreams last night.
My Dreams Are Getting Better was the #1 song as people from around the world met to lay the foundations for the United Nations.
When I was assigned to write the lead on the impending United Nations Conference, we called it UNCIO, United Nations Conference on International Organization. Everyone knew that something had to be done to face the future. An individual statesman or an individual politician may be a damn fool, but that doesn't mean that he is completely devoid of recognizing what he has to do. The big argument among everybody on the outside was the Big Five having veto rights, because different countries wanted different things, and different countries didn't want to do some things. There were people saying, if you're going to have Argentina there, I'm not coming in, and this sort of thing.
The conference met every day for 2 months. 400 journalists followed the power struggle between the largest nations.
Big Five and the Big Three and all of the big this and the big that every day, and I flatter myself to think that the readers understood who they were.
On June 26th, the negotiations ended and the delegates were ready to vote.
My privilege in the chair to call for a vote on the approval of the Charter of the United Nations, including the Statute of the International Court and also of the Agreement on Interim Arrangements.
The signing of the Charter will begin this morning at 9 o'clock. First in line will be China, which has suffered longest from fascist aggression. And after that, Russia, England, and France. Then the rest of the nations will sign in alphabetical order.
I have no illusions about having destiny in my hands when I was writing for that thing. The only thing I have an illusion about is being able to write clearly enough so that people could understand it. When I consider the events of the last 50 years since the signing of the charter, I can't say that any one thing was due to that, but I know that there are things taking place now in line with the higher ethical values in the charter, and this is encouraging. I'm glad to see these non-material values come to the fore, and I'm glad of that.
I'm telling you, John, in the movies, there's only 5 stories.
Well, I'm telling you, Wimbledon's got them all.
Okay, I'll give you rivals, but where's the small-town boy makes good?
Roger Federer.
Last chance hero.
Agassi.
What about love?
Yeah, you're telling me you got a love story.
Perfect.
Clijsters and Hewitt.
Okay. But there's no way you got a cliffhanger.
You've never seen a Tim Henman semifinal.
Oh, okay.
Wimbledon 2004 starts Monday at 12 on BBC2.
The lowdown on the life of the otter. Wildlife on 2 in half an hour. Right now, something's cooking on BBC2 in the Phil Silver Show.
I nearly went through that prickly pear over there. Oh, that was close.
Would have had a prickly pear then, wouldn't you?
Ground Force goes stateside. Or a pair of pricklies.
It's probably already got those.
And the girls are wearing the trousers.
Come on, Tommy, back to work.
Ground Force America returns tonight at 8:30 on BBC.
It inspires.
You can do things in pictures that you can't do in life.
It disgusts.
Catch up with the daily politics in half an hour here on BBC2. First, who'd have thought it? Bilko, a bird lover.
The battle is on to save some of Britain's most historic buildings. Some may live, others may die. Your vote. Endangered buildings. It's a matter of life or death. Restoration. Coming soon to BBC2.
The daily politics here on BBC2 in 5 minutes after another key moment in history.
The ideas behind the communications superhighway first surfaced more than 40 years ago.
Well, I was working at the RAND Corporation on national security issues, doing calculations on the damage that atomic weapons would cause.
Paul Barron was a young engineer working at the RAND Foundation in the 1960s.
We're in the Cold War. Things were heating up. It was a period of great danger with missile systems being built. Both countries had their missiles aimed at each other, and the great fear was that whichever country went first could destroy the other. And the objective was to calm things down by having a system that could survive a physical attack. But the problem was that the collateral damage of weapons aimed at our weapons would take out the telephone system.
It was while he was trying to solve this problem that he conceived the key technical features of what is today the Internet. He designed a robust communication network. Unlike the centralized phone system, this was distributive, known as the fishnet.
The question then came of, well, how could we route traffic through this network? And I recalled some research that had been done by Claude Shannon, where he invented a physical mouse that would find its way through a maze by random choice, remember what it had done to get there, and then next time the mouse would go through very quickly. So that turned on a light bulb, and said, well, if a mouse could do that, we could put the information in so they go through and learn their way through, and then we will have a way of sending information from point A to any other point B that will be able to take whatever pieces of the networks that survive the physical attack.
He took his idea to AT&T.
You have to understand that AT&T was the telephone monopoly. So when I proposed this idea, you can imagine that it would be viewed with some skepticism. They thought I was crazy. You don't jump from one point to the end point, but rather in a series of little steps along the way.
The original idea worked and is today called packet switching. A decade after being told he was crazy, Barron's idea was chosen as the method of communication for the network of networks that make up the internet.
For the first time, children anywhere in the world will be able to have access to all the world's information. It's a whole new society, and it's a society that will be based on information. Now, information has a nice characteristic, unlike material goods. If I had a barrel of oil, you don't have the barrel of oil. But information you could replicate infinitely at zero cost, so we can all benefit.
Today at Wimbledon, and action.
Passion, romance, nail-biting excitement. You won't miss a moment of Wimbledon with live coverage on BBC Radio 5 Live and bbc.co.uk. And every night of the week, all the day's stories with Today at Wimbledon on BBC2.
Cut.
Before Tracy made her bed and Damien discovered formaldehyde.
Play at this point.
It's a bit of fun, it's a bit of fun.
If you're on a date, it's a good idea to touch at least 3 times.
I'd quite like to see you again.
All you need to know about relationships, new coupling and the all-new Keith Barrett Show starts Monday from 9 on BBC2.
Do you fancy being part of history?
Well, you can, because Sport Relief Saturday is nearly here, and there are hundreds of mile events happening on July the 10th all over the country. Sign up now for your local mile. Log on to bbc.co.uk/sportrelief or call us on 08712 444411.
The latest news from Parliament. The Daily Politics is at 11:30. But first on BBC2, Bilko seeing double.